Hi, everyone, and welcome to Everything Under the Moon. I am your host tonight. My name is Becky. And of course, I have my co host with me tonight, Kira. How are you doing, Kira?
Hi, I'm doing okay. I'm hoping the power doesn't go out. The storm is starting to get pretty bad outside. So we have a big dust storm and thunderstorm. So a lot of people
So,
are losing power. So
if we lose you, we know
hopefully it's
it's nothing
okay.
personal.
Yes. So if I go dark, it means that it was too much for the power grid.
Well, we completely understand. I know Tucson, we got a little bit, but nothing major. I swear we live under an umbrella here in Tucson.
No, it's like
Know
this is
what
like
it
the
is?
worst haboob we've had in years because they were like talking about it on the news, and it was like the only thing they were talking about. There's like chance of hail, so we had to like move my car into the garage because I have a new car, newest car I've ever made, so like a couple months old. So it's like shuffling the cars so I can go inside and be protected.
It's amazing because we never get rain out here. So it's like when we get anything, it's like panic.
Hmm.
But tonight we do have a special guest with us. His name is Dylan. And Dylan, I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself and tell people where you're from and what it is that you do.
Well, good evening, both. Thank you so much for inviting me on the show this evening. I'm honoured.
Oh,
Um, well, I'm a parapsychologist at Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen in Scotland, and that's where I'm doing my doctoral research. So my PhD is looking at how the media represents the paranormal and the people who research it, and whether or not it influences the behaviour of all the modern paranormal groups that are out there.
very cool. So you're coming all the way from Scotland.
Well, actually, I'm in Savannah. That's where I now live. The
Wow,
beautiful city of Savannah, Georgia.
very cool. But you're originally from Scotland.
I'm actually from Wales.
Well, Wales.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. I'm just like totally off tonight, aren't I? Well, you mentioned Scotland, and so my mind went straight to Scotland.
Yeah.
Well, I have to admit, Scotland is like one of those places that I would love to go see because that's where some of my heritage is from. So, whenever anyone talks about, like Ireland or Scotland, my ears just hear that part only, I think.
They are incredible countries. Of course, Wales is the third of the three Celtic nations,
Mhm.
so it's a very beautiful place, just like Scotland and Ireland are.
Yeah. So, wow, it must be very different to be here, though.
It is. It's certainly a lot warmer, and
Oh yeah.
usually a lot
Oh yeah.
drier than what it is in Wales. Wales is quite a rainy country, so I think I've acclimatized quite well. I do enjoy the heat of Savannah.
Right. Well, be thankful you're not in Arizona because that's all it is heat.
Yeah.
No, I'm in Tucson, and Kira's in Mesa, so she's a little bit different than me, but not by much. It's like what, 2 hours away by
Yes.
car.
Yeah.
But the weather systems can be completely different. She can like have the hail and the pouring rain, and we can have absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
Vice versa too.
Arizona is one of the states I've yet to visit, so it's on the list. I've got some interesting places like Tombstone, Bisbee, and Jerome, places that I've got on the list and had them there for a number of years.
Mhm.
So I'm eager to get across there.
Okay. Well, I have been to pretty much all of those places that you've mentioned. So I can tell you there's definitely a lot of paranormal activity in all of them, but there also is in Tucson. So don't leave out Tucson.
That's true. Yeah.
So, for those who have not tuned into the show before, for starters, how dare you? No, but we always do random questions at first, and this is just to get to know the guest. And then, after we ask some random questions, we will move into what it is exactly you do and start talking more about that.
Cool.
We like to get to know our guest, and we just do random things, and we never even know what they are because they're literally just pieces of paper that I pull
Okay.
out. Okay. Well, this is a very. I got a cat in my way. This is Azu, everyone, and Azu
Aww.
apparently has decided to join our podcast tonight.
The more the merrier.
Yay. Aw.
I just have to be careful that he doesn't hit my keyboard because he will, trigger things to happen if he does.
Yeah.
So our first question, yes, Azu, hello. What kind of books do you enjoy?
Ghost books.
Ghost books?
Yeah, I have. I, since the age of 10, I've collected books on ghosts and hauntings from all over the world. So I've currently got about 1,100.
Wow.
Wow.
Most of them are still in the UK because I'm going through the whole change of status application at the moment, and I'm
Mhm.
not going to ship anything over until that's confirmed because it's going to cost a
Right.
lot of money.
Oh yeah,
I can
yeah.
imagine. That is a lot of books, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely more than what I have in my library. Oh, not only do I have my cat making appearance, my husband's in the background there. I'm just not getting any peace for this podcast tonight. Jeez. All right, let's move on. So Zoo wanted to take over the podcast tonight too. Okay. I just have all kinds of things going on. And I do apologize for tonight because even though we didn't really get the hailstorm like what you're doing, we did have some clouds and some light rain. And in all honesty, whenever it's a cloudy day, I don't know how it affects all of you, but it makes me sleepy.
Oh, same.
So I'm just kind of like, I'm trying to like be awake and I'm trying to be energetic, but it's just like those clouds. And Kira, I know you can't make it, but we have an event tonight with the team and company. So it's just like, it's been nonstop today. So I'm trying to keep my head in the game here and I keep getting interrupted, which doesn't help. All right. So the next question, what is your dream vacation?
Oh, that's a tough one. Um, I have a soft spot for Orlando because I do love the theme parks.
So do I.
Um, so I'd probably put that as the top. But if I was going to go for a second, I'm a big fan of exploring New England.
Okay. I've never been there.
It's
I've been
beautiful.
I've been to I've been to Orlando once. Or no, twice. I take that back, twice. Because I am a theme park person and I did go to Disney World both times. So in fact I have a Disneyland trip coming up hopefully. So
Ooh,
Brilliant.
that's exciting.
yes, I'm hoping it all turns out okay. Gonna hopefully go and have some fun. Okay, so next little question.
Okay.
What is or was your dream career or are you doing it?
Oh, I'm doing it now.
You're doing it now, so this is something that you
Definitely.
always wanted to do?
Yes. Since I had an unusual experience when I was 7. Um, I had an uncle who was a police officer, and he was the person I looked up to, both literally and figuratively in my formative years. And he sadly passed away from cancer when he was just 36 years old. So as you
Oh,
can
no.
imagine, for the family it was devastating. And it was a couple of months afterwards that I wake up in the middle of the night and see him standing in my bedroom doorway and then fading away. So I look back at that today with what I now do, and yes, I'm a skeptic, but that does not make me a cynic. I am very open minded as to the possibility of ghosts and haunted places. So that was the first thing. But the second thing was a couple of years after that experience, it was 1984. And I pestered my mum like anything to take me to the cinema to see a certain film about ghosts that came out that year. So if I were to ask you who you're going to call,
Ghostbusters, and everybody
that's
better
it.
know that answer.
Yes.
And that was it. And I genuinely thought that that's what I want to be.
Right.
And I didn't get there straight away. I was a police officer for almost 18 years, but um, an injury on duty put paid to that. So I thought, well, now I've got my police pension, I can retire, and I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah, there you go.
So I am literally loving every day.
And that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Now, there is something that you brought up that I find very interesting for sure, and that's the fact that you say that you are a skeptic. And I love it when people in this field say that they're skeptics. Because if you go into this field and you're thinking everything's paranormal, you're not helping this field at all.
Hmm.
And so that's how my team approaches things too. We go in as skeptics.
Yeah.
We're not going to go in there and, you know, say everything is, normal or whatever, but we're going to go in there and we're going to try to find the normal answer first. And only when we've gone over a million things, and can't find the answer, then we'll admit, okay, we've been beat. This is paranormal.
Hmm.
But I love that response because I know of other people in this field that are just like, they would call everything paranormal, and it's not helpful at all.
No,
And I
you,
get
you
that.
have to maintain critical thinking levels at all times. Um,
Yes.
and I don't think there's ever a moment where, since I've been doing this from the age of 10, I've ever felt anything was paranormal. Because we say that something is anomalous. It's just that we don't really know what it is. We leave it
Right.
open to be paranormal, because, but we just don't know what it is. Because one day we might find out that what we thought was paranormal might actually have a natural explanation.
That's very true.
Why we always use the term anomalous.
Yes. Because we don't know. We don't have the answers. And that's another thing that drives me crazy about this field is there's people that think they have all the answers. And it's all a theory. And whenever I explain what I believe to be true of what I've witnessed, I even claim, I'm like, I cannot prove that I am right, but this is my theory. This is what I have experienced, and this is what I have been through, and this is my conclusion.
Yeah,
But I can't say that I'm 100% correct.
yeah, and always be willing to say, "Hey, I made a mistake on that. I've changed my mind." You've been open to the possibility that yeah, we all make mistakes. We're all human. And if data comes along that actually can change our mind, then that's good. That's science.
Right. And that's what we need to be basing things on is the scientific part of things and not
Yeah.
just what we believe to be, it's a ghost. Or what's even worse, it's demonic. That's the one I really hate.
Oh yes.
I really hate that one. All right, let's move on to another question before we get back to the paranormal.
Yeah.
What is your favorite childhood memory?
Ooh.
I know I got some tough questions, don't I?
I the overriding thing is probably, I know it goes back to Ghostbusters, but that's one of those formative experiences. Being, first of all, seeing the just the poster around the area where I was growing up, and nobody really knowing what it was,
Hmm.
and then seeing clips on TV and queuing outside the cinema. You know, the days where you had to queue before you could go in, and the sheer excitement of waiting in the queue and then sat there, and when the theme song started playing, everybody in the cinema started singing along with it. So that formative experience has
Right,
stayed with me forever.
right. Um, that's it's funny that we're talking Ghostbusters here, and um, kind of shows our age. I know, Kira, you
Yeah.
weren't alive when it first came out.
Nope.
I'm like, whenever we talk about certain things, I'm like, yeah, I really start to show my age. Uh, honestly, I don't remember seeing Ghostbusters in the movie theaters, but I do remember, seeing it. I don't remember going to the theaters to see it. It's like I don't remember seeing a lot of movies in the theaters, to be honest with you. And I don't know why that is. I don't remember going to the theaters. About the only one that I remember seeing in the theater is Back to the Future.
Yes, I remember seeing
It's a
that
nice
too.
one.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't really remember other movies being seen in the theater. I just remember, seeing them. Um, and the Ghostbuster one, I don't honestly think I saw until I got older. I think that was something that I was kind of shielded from. Um, my family was very particular, I guess I can say. They did not want to talk about ghost. Um, my grandma was very sensitive, and my grandma, every once in a while would talk about, how she would dream about people who had passed, or she would, sense things, or, things like that. But everyone wrote her off as being crazy. So everyone's like, oh, she's just crazy, blah, blah, blah. Don't talk about her. But I grew up in a haunted house. I did. And no one would talk about it, and no one would say anything. And I think because of that, no one wanted me to see anything dealing with ghosts because they didn't want us to talk about it. They didn't want to talk about the haunted house we were growing up in. That was not something they wanted to bring to light. So the conversations about ghosts and all that stuff never happened until I was older. So I think that's why I probably did not see it in the theater, because of the fact that they probably didn't want to bring a conversation like that up. because they did not want to admit that our house was haunted. I have to watch my cat. You can be a part of it, but you can't step on anything because then you'll kick me out. I know, Carrie, you didn't get to see it in the theaters, but I'm sure you can hear it.
I've seen it. I think I was like 14 or 15 though when I saw it. So on the older end of it, I guess.
Right.
I remember my dad pulling it up and we watched it like at his house. I remember like that part because my dad loved all the 80s stuff. So I see a lot of the 80s movies. Well, both my parents really love like 80s movies, obviously. But my dad would especially be like, okay, there's 80 movies on. We're going to put it on. He was one of those. So it was like, so I ended up seeing a lot of the classics that way. But I think I was 14 or 15.
I love how you're calling the 80s classics.
Yep. Hey, it's classics to me.
Well, it's so funny because I try to convince my daughters who are, teenagers, you need to see, the original Ghostbusters because they've seen the remakes, they've seen the Ghostbusters Afterlife, the Frozen Empire, all that stuff. But they, getting them to see anything in the 80s, they're like, Mom, that's old. And I'm like, excuse me? And they're like, it's old. It's like, I tried to get them to watch like Back to the Future. Mom, that's an old movie.
I love the whole series.
Yeah. But yeah, they're just like, I don't know what it is, but they sit there and they're like, anything that was made in the 80s is old.
No.
Now they can tolerate things in the 90s, but even
Disney kind of starts at that point. So yeah.
They're still like that's kind of old. It's 90s, and I'm like, are you serious?
Well, I just think you're exhibiting good parenting skills.
I'm trying to expand their horizons. Come on.
Exactly.
Where can you get such good movies? The original Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, original things that now everyone just copies over and over again. The same the same plots, the same movies, remakes. And it's like, no, watch the original. But no, it's old. I'm like, geez, thanks. That makes me feel really good there. But I know you had mentioned in your bio that you sent over that you did, what was it? I'm trying to remember straight, a panel at one of the premieres of...
Back in 2019, I was asked to film a documentary for the 35th anniversary of Ghostbusters. About what parapsychologists really do for a living. Because obviously at the start of Ghostbusters, you see Venkman, Stantz and Spangler, they're at the university in New York and they get fired and then they become Ghostbusters.
Right.
And that film had a formative effect, not just on myself, but fellow colleagues, because we're all about that age. And 3 of my other colleagues also are in academic settings. And it's as a result of the influence that film had on them. So I made the documentary and it was called Back Off Man, I'm a Parapsychologist, which is in reference to Venkman's line, Back Off Man, I'm a Scientist, when he's at the library. So I got to take that 20-minute documentary to Sony Studios in LA as part of the festival. So I got to present it on the silver screen at Sony Pictures, where they actually master all the audio. And then I got to present about the ghosts that you see in Ghostbusters and how they relate to what people's real life experiences are. But through that, I got to meet Dan Aykroyd, Ivan Reitman, Ernie Hudson, William Atherton, who plays Walter Peck, Ray Parker Jr., and Jason Reitman. And then because I did that, they invited me to the world premiere of Ghostbusters Afterlife in New York in 2021. So I got to sit and watch that with Bill Murray, and the rest of the cast, McKenna Grace, and that was just both experiences were more than fulfilling childhood dreams.
I can imagine.
It was just wonderful to meet. Obviously, you should never meet your idols, but I got to, and I think Dan Aykroyd's a little bit eccentric, but he has every right to be.
Yes.
And Paul Rudd is very small. Really, he's tiny.
Is he?
Tiny.
Literally like Ant-Man.
Though that's probably why he had the little tiny chair on the preview of Doomsday.
Yeah,
Yeah, Paul Rudd. I like Paul Rudd. He does a
yeah,
lot.
he's good.
So
He's funny.
yeah, he would be one that I would love to meet for sure too, because he's
Hmm.
just all everything you ever see him in. He just has that little comic relief to
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
So I'm sure that was very cool. I'm sure that was definitely something you will never forget.
Hmm.
I know that would be something I would never forget.
Hmm.
I consider myself very, very fortunate to have done both of those things.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and dive into exactly what it is that you do. Can you explain to people that may not understand what it's about and what you actually do? Because they're probably thinking Ghostbusters and thinking that kind of
Yeah,
theory. So
yeah. Or what my doctorate is exploring is taking the media and over the last 25 years we've been subject to so many different TV shows.
yes.
um, we have so many paranormal movies. I mean, we're going back to the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s. We had Poltergeist and all the other kinds of different
Hmm.
things that came out. We've had the Conjuring series. So our modern day paranormal investigators watching the TV shows, watching the movies? Are they reading books? Are they listening to podcasts? Are they taking notice of social media? Are any of those forms of media influencing what they do? And is it affecting things like the equipment that they use, the things that they say, their behavior? So I've been observing and doing what we call ethnographic research, which is spending time with paranormal investigators out in the field, watching what they're doing, interviewing them, spending a lot of time looking at the various forms of media, um, looking at the books as much as I can to try and find out whether the media is affecting what they do.
Mhm.
So I started the PhD in January 2020, and I've got about another year left to do. So I'm literally in the middle of writing up the data and the findings that I've got.
Oh, very.
And aside from when I'm not doing that, I work alongside academics in other fields because, I say I'm a parapsychologist. Technically, I'm more of a para-anthropologist, but it starts getting very complicated because people generally know, oh, a parapsychologist,
Hmm.
but it's a bad term because I'm not a psychologist. I'm more of an anthropologist. I'm studying culture and how people's behavior and that kind of thing occurs. But I work with a physicist called Steve Parsons, who's looking at infrasound in haunted locations for his doctoral research. And I'm also working with a brilliant psychologist called Dr. Anne Winsper, and she got her doctorate looking at electronic voice phenomena and whether or not there's a certain personality type of people who are more likely to hear what they perceive as speech in what is just random sound. So we work together. There's an organization called Parascience that Anne and Steve founded 30 to 40 years ago. And they've been working together closely over that time. And they brought me in because of my background in policing, because I'm trained in cognitive interviewing.
Mhm.
So the most important part of any paranormal experience is what the witness has experienced.
Right.
So the equipment looks great, but let's forget it because you need a person there to have the experience.
All right.
Exactly.
And the whole point of an investigation is to establish the truth.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Can we find any explanations for what the witness has experienced? So initially, I will go in with an interview and could be spending anywhere between 2 to 8 hours interviewing a witness based on their experience. Um, and then using the techniques that I was using in policing, um, I will gather a statement, and then I will go back to my colleagues and say, right, this is what we've got. Um, Steve will look at things from an environmental perspective, and Anne will look at things from a psychological perspective, because we're looking to see whether there are any potential natural explanations from either of those that could explain what the witness has experienced. If we can rule things out, we can, but there are occasions when we are left with, we don't know what it was.
All right.
So, and the challenge today is that there are now so many paranormal investigation groups in both the UK and the US that their techniques and investigative methods have caused issues, whereas they're not interview trained. So they might have been asking leading questions, and they don't. And this is purely from a lot of the research I found is that most of them don't have a good understanding of middle school physics. So they will make mistakes when it comes to things like EMF, and those kinds of things. What we're trying through my research, what I'm trying to do is to say, hey guys, we need you. We need you because you're out there investigating. But there's a lot of not following the scientific method.
Right.
And if we can get us all together on the same page, we can help make you become citizen scientists. Because we've heard of citizen journalism, but we can have citizen scientists if we help you with the right methodology and the right tools.
All right.
Ultimately, what you can do as investigators, I don't mean you personally, I mean all investigators, is be on site, gather the data, and then we can help you analyze it and interpret it. So yeah, that's basically what I do.
Very cool. Yeah, you hit on a few things that I completely and totally agree with, especially when it comes to there are groups out there that honestly don't know what they're doing. And it's no offense to anyone. I know people get into this and they're excited and they go in and they're like, oh my God. But the problem is, I don't want to sound like I'm like on a soapbox here or that I'm preaching, but every piece of equipment you use in this field was originally meant for something else. So
Yes.
each piece of equipment has a downfall. And if you do not understand what else can set that equipment off and just assume it's paranormal, that's not really helpful
Yeah.
at all.
I mean, one of the things I found was that like Steve Parsons has written an incredible book. It's called Ghostology, The Art of the Ghost Hunter. And he goes through initially the history of ghost hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I found is that a lot of investigators don't know the history. They won't go back and look at the experience of Athenodorus in Greece 2,000 years ago and follow all cases that have happened through for the Fox sisters with the rise of spiritualism, the birth of the Society for Psychical Research, the Ghost Club. They won't understand or know about those. They won't have heard of people like Harry Price, who investigated Borley Rectory and was pretty much the first person to take over a reputedly haunted house for a year and bring in a team of people who were there all the time. And it's not knowing these things, then you don't know the mistakes that other people have made that you're now still making.
Right.
And they don't read. Most of them do not pick up a book, and and that is sad for a number of reasons. But
Yes.
I've interviewed a number of the investigators on both sides of the Atlantic, and they're using K2 meters, and I'll ask, well, why do you use it? And they give a bit of an explanation, and then I will say, well, does it measure amplitude or frequency? And then they go blank. And they don't understand the number of things that can actually be setting off a K2 meter, and the fact that its components are cheap. Once dropped, they can't be calibrated. So that what we're trying to say to them is, look, there are some interesting theories about EMF, but you need the right equipment operated by the right person who can understand the data that it's giving you.
Right.
So our argument is, like, forget about it. Concentrate on things which we can get data from, like temperature. Temperature is the most crucial thing, and it's pretty straightforward to actually measure
Right.
today. So yeah, it's a fascinating field. And like I said, we want people to investigate. We genuinely do. with good equipment.
Yes, and with good common sense.
Yeah. And write things down. Write things. Document what you've done and why you've done it.
Hmm.
Don't just make a YouTube video that this is the investigation. It's great, but what do you want? Do you want clicks, or do you want to add to the weight of scientific data that's actually out there?
I think a lot of people nowadays want the clicks.
I was gonna say, it's like, unfortunately, a vast majority, they want
The clicks,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing that I've noticed a lot of people like right now we're trying to bring on more investigators to my paranormal team. And I think that's something else that people don't realize. People don't know how much actually goes into it. The research, the review and all that stuff. It's not just go out, find a ghost. Oh, look, I found that ghost. And that's it. It's history, it's research. It's, like I said, knowing the equipment, knowing, what to do, what not to do. You don't want to go in there being all stupid, antagonizing, a spirit. It drives me crazy. Um, and people just they want the clicks. So they see what they do on TV and there's certain shows that give off the wrong impression and they go and they do that and it's like, okay, you're not being helpful. You're not. You're just trying to get those clicks. And that's something that does, drive me crazy, but it brings an interest in this field and I guess we need that interest, but there's good and bad to that at the same time.
Definitely.
I know one of the things that I would like to know, and I know you, and I'm sure this is something that's going to have to completely always be studied, but I like to try to dig deeper into things. And like I would have my team um, sit there and I'd be like, let's research, this or let's research that and find, everything out that we can about a certain subject. And one of the ones that I really want to try to dig deeper into, but I haven't yet, is EVPs. And I know you kind of brought that up before. And it's like, I kind of want to know, are there other things that can cause the EVPs? Can it be something else that we're unaware of? That's something that I would love to dig into deeper because that is where we do find our most evidence is in those EVPs. So I want to know, are we actually finding evidence or are we finding something else? So that's something I kind of want to dig deeper into. Have you guys, dug deeper into that or?
We don't use EVP as a tool for research
Oh, really? Okay.
because it's subjective data. So we're looking for objective data.
Okay.
So, for example, and no doubt you'll have, however you're doing your EVP experiment, you may well have got a piece of audio and you'll listen back to it. And if you had 10 people in a room and said, write down what you think is being said,
Mm-hmm.
you may well have 10 different responses because everybody's hearing is different. It
Mm-hmm.
deteriorates over age. You could words that sound similar. You may think it's that, somebody may think it's this. So because it's subjective, we don't use it. What we do is we find it interesting to study people who are doing EVP, the methods that they're using, whether then there is something in the actual the audio that is coming through as a separate experiment to actually being in a haunted location and doing it to try and see if the location is haunted. It's that subtle difference between the two. Because a lot of ghost hunters will go to a place and go, oh, that looks haunted. Let's do an investigation. And that's like a police officer walking past a bank and going, oh, I wonder if there's been a robbery in there. Let's go investigate.
Yeah.
It's pointless. You'd only go if there has been something.
Mm-hmm.
It's looking at the methodology. Now there's a book that's been written called Paracoustics, which is by both Steve Parsons, who I mentioned earlier, and Professor Cal Cooper, who's at the University of Northampton in England. And they're looking at different aspects of sound and the paranormal. And Anne contributed a chapter to that. So it is slightly more of an academic book. And I'll be the first one to admit that some of them are like reading stereo instructions. They're not easy to read.
Right.
But they've tried to give it and that's partly academics' faults. We need to look at what we're presenting
Mm-hmm.
and making it, firstly, accessible, but also easily available. Because a lot of the research that we do is behind a university firewall,
Mhm.
and people can't read it. So that's something that we need to take on board and try and get the information across. But there are some things available if you look. And I can send you some links that you might want to share with people later on as to the kind of things you can read. But EVP is a fascinating area of experiment.
Mm-hmm.
There can be explanations, but it's not my area of expertise, and I would defer to somebody like Dr. Ann Winsper, that's what she does.
Yeah. See, that's just the type of thing that I love to do in this field, is like dig deeper and learn as much as we can. And like I said, we've been through different research things, and I would have to look at my file, but I would say, okay, let's focus on this. And everyone would do like research, and we would bring it together. I would like put everything together, and I have like a file on it. So if we ever have to go back at a certain point in time and say, okay, I know we researched that, let's see what we had found on it.
Yeah.
One of the things that we also did some research on, which I believe everyone in the paranormal field should do too, is the types of drugs that can cause hallucinations and things like that. Because we take residential calls and things like that. So we kind of need to know if someone's, on something, is that contributing to them having these, paranormal effects or not? So we even dug into stuff like that. But definitely, research is so important in this field, and studying it, and all that stuff is so important.
Yeah,
What do you feel, being what you do, what do you feel is one of the most important things to research in this field, in your opinion?
I think ethics,
Okay, that would make sense.
um,
I like that.
because
I
there
like
are many unethical examples of things that have gone on. We had a case in the UK a number of years ago that a colleague of mine dealt with, that there had been a local investigative group who had gone to this person's house because the person was reporting these rather strange noises coming from the attic. And this group went in and said, "Oh, well, this is demonic." And
I
of course,
hate
it
that.
really frightened the owners of the property. And then they turned to the Society for Psychical Research, which is the oldest academic body in the world for the study of the paranormal. It's founded in 1882. And that had such illustrious people as Sir Arthur Conan Doyle as members. And there are a lot of scientists over the globe who, with an interest in the paranormal, are members. So my colleague went, and his first idea was, well, let's get a plumber in. And the plumber, yeah, it's faulty plumbing. That was causing the strange noises. Change the
Simple as that.
plumbing,
Yeah.
end of noises. And there is an argument that residential cases should be left alone,
Mm-hmm.
because, uh, and this is one of the things I've been looking at in the PhD, is there are now so many people who like to say we are professional paranormal investigators. What does that mean? What does professional mean? And you could, again, ask 20 people and you will get 20 different answers about what professionalism is.
Right.
Can you be a professional paranormal investigator? Um, are there experts in the paranormal?
No, there are no experts.
And I would say, yes, there are.
See, I don't think there is, because of the fact that it's unknown, and you can't prove that you're right, and you can't prove that you're wrong.
So there are no experts in the law.
Well,
There are no
some.
experts in medicine.
Well, there's experts in, I think, some things, but I
So
don't.
if you have somebody who's a physicist in infrasound,
Well, I think,
they'd be the best
okay,
person
let
to
me
look
rephrase this. You could know certain things in the field and have your, I guess, expertise that way. But when it comes to the field in a general, like in a bubble, I don't think there's an
But
expert, because not
nobody can be an
everyone can
expert
explain
on
everything.
everything. That is physically and mentally
yeah.
impossible.
Right. Yeah.
But
That's what I
you
mean by
have,
no experts in,
that's
like,
what,
well,
if you take the paranormal, I would argue that you can. And it's like any other field, be that sociology, psychology, you can have experts. And the expertise is you have a niche within it. So, for example, a physicist, a psychologist, an anthropologist, a geologist, they have a particular area. Same with medicine. You'll have somebody who specializes in brain surgery, somebody who specializes in joints. You will have experts within the field.
Mhm.
So, an expertise, and what does expert mean? Is that somebody who has a lot of learning and experience in a specific point. So, I would argue that there are experts, and that you can be a professional paranormal investigator, because if you're putting customer focus, you're looking at investigative work, and you're holding to a particular standard and a qualification, you can be a professional.
Right.
So it's a very broad subject. I mean, that's why my doctorate is going to be about 100,000 words, and it's exploring all of that. Um, and yeah, it provokes a lot of thought and debate, and I love that.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I'd be open to the fact that there are people who can provide expertise, and we turn to those people, which is why I said that when it comes to um, the environmental stuff, I don't touch,
Right.
because that's not my area of expertise,
Right.
and I leave it to somebody who is. So it's food for thought. But we can all be professionals by improving our learning
Mhm.
and improving our methodology.
Right.
No matter what we do in our day jobs, um, we still do it. Well, one of my concerns though is um, those who go to a particular online university in Florida and claim that they've got a PhD.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That does worry me,
Right.
because it's not worth the paper it's written on.
Right. Yeah, that's for sure. But going back to the ethics part of things, I do agree with you. That is definitely something that
Mm.
I feel definitely needs. There's so many people, like I said, that jump into this just because they see a TV show. They don't do any background research. They don't really even try to do anything more than go into a place and see if it's haunted or not.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's really hard because I have, my team does do residentials, but trust me, we don't do every
Mm.
residential that comes our way because number one, that's dangerous for us and them. Uh, but we are picky. We do our interviews, we do
Mm.
our research, and I have had some residentials that have come to me, and they come to me scared because they called in other groups,
Yeah.
and the other groups went in there and like, oh, you have a demon, see ya, bye, and that's all they do. And they leave these people going, what do we do?
Mm.
And a lot of the times it's not a demon. A lot of times they have rodents in their freaking walls or something.
Yeah.
It's worrying. I think it's a trend that we've noticed an increase over the last 25 years,
Hmm.
and I think we can pretty much say that there have been a couple of TV shows and a couple of
Yes,
individuals on
definitely.
those shows
Hmm.
that have, made a very good living out of what they've done,
Yes.
and will have said, "Oh, it's a demon." And I mean, I'm aware of my confirmation biases, and I don't believe in demons.
Yeah, neither do we.
Yeah.
But
That's not something we
I
really.
can't, I can't prove they don't exist. I can't prove that they do.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um,
Yes. I believe in grumpy. I believe there's grumpy.
there's
Yeah.
too much of that about, for sure.
Hmm.
I've dealt with those before, grumpy for sure. But yeah, I don't call anything like demonic. I don't really look at that as existing. That's not something I'm really into. I don't believe that if that does happen, I believe it's like one in a million. I don't think it's very common, like, certain TV shows make it out to be.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just there's been cases that I've done that they've watched these TV shows. And this is one of the interview questions we've learned to ask. Do you watch paranormal TV shows? And if so, which ones? This is on our interview questions because we have noticed one particular show that if people contact us and say we have a demon, they watch this show.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
We have
Um,
noticed that like 99% of the time, if we're getting a phone call saying we have a demon, it's because they watch that particular TV show.
yeah. And it's interesting that um, there are some movies like the ones that on the Conjuring series, you
Mhm.
know,
Hmm.
that really frighten people, and people have a view of the Warrens, for example, and the way that they approach things. So, and I'll be the first to say, look, you know, if you've seen The Conjuring 2, you know, where the Warrens go to the Enfield case in London in the 1970s, that case lasted 14 months. The Warrens' involvement was actually 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, and the look of shock on people. And I say, yeah, they basically turned up at the front door. Guy Playfair, I won't say the exact words, but I think he told Ed Warren where to go. And that was it. Um, they're not who you think they are.
Right.
Um, and it's that case is one of the best documented poltergeist cases. Whether it's a poltergeist or not, I don't know. But it's certainly one of the most best documented that there is. And there was one show that did it real justice, and I don't know if you've seen it, but it's on Apple TV, and it's called The Enfield Poltergeist, and it's a four-part docudrama where they have rebuilt the house on a soundstage, so it looks just like it did. You have actors playing the parts of the family of young Janet, who was allegedly thrown across the room. You have somebody playing Maurice Grosse and Guy Playfair, the two main investigators. But most of the audio that you hear is not the actors, because they've actually got over 200 hours of audio that was recorded during the case.
Oh, that's
Oh,
cool.
And then
yeah.
it's interspersed then with interviews of people who are still alive that had connection to the case, and also some experts like Professor Brian Carr, who's a physicist. And he was a young scientist when he was there, but he's fascinated by parallel universes and whether there's anything that could explain it from those kind of attributes.
Yeah, that's
Um,
something else I find interesting is the parallel
yeah,
universe, study and that.
yeah.
So that's interesting
So
too.
if you're going to watch a show, watch that one. It is
Okay.
fascinating.
Very cool. I know Kira, we're talking about, all the backgrounds and everything. She's into the whole history part of everything. So she always digs into the history and all that stuff. And with what you're doing, I'm sure you find that very important too, when it comes to all of this. Like you said earlier, researching, ghost hunting way back in, the days before I was ever thought of for sure.
I
I'm
mean,
not that old.
I mean, history is fascinating. I mean, my wife and I in Savannah, my wife does ghost tours, so I help out every now and again because I love them.
Mhm.
But what you do here is a lot of other tours getting the history either wrong or making it up. Like
Mhm.
in Savannah, we have Wright Square, which is literally about 100 yards behind from where I am at the moment. And that was infamous as the hanging square. And they will say that, there's the hanging tree there, and that tree's about 170 years old. It's not old enough. And we
Yeah.
didn't use the tree. We built a gallows to do the job. But for the sake of drama and whatever, they will, make things up. And there
Yeah.
is no need because
Exactly.
history is fascinating as it is.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I find myself going down the little rabbit hole all the time for random stuff we have to do research on. Because I helped do history for parts of the tour and stuff too that Becky runs. And so, like, we had to, like, I really looked into make sure it was correct and accurate. Um, so, hopefully, against other tours that definitely do just be like Tucson haunted history into an AI or whatever, because they probably do
Yeah.
Yeah,
because it's so wrong and off. So
yeah. And history it's always been one of my favorite subjects. Um, yeah, there's no need to you don't need to flower it up. It's fascinating.
yeah, I just find finding like all the old maps, see if I can find any newspapers at the time is also so fascinating because the thing that always like we've done a lot of history on like Tombstone and stuff. because we like done a lot of stuff out there. It's always so funny. Like I'd go like looking through all the newspapers I have access to, and it's like so and so came to town today. I'm like, that was so important that it had to be in the newspaper. That's
Yeah.
kind of always blows my mind. The stuff that was in the newspaper back then it was so funny. It's like they came to town today. Oh, they went to go visit their brother in they're like other big. They'll be back. It's so literally, it's so funny.
It is, and that's one place I have. It's been on the list for so many years. I want to go and see Big Nose Kate's Saloon and Boot Hill Cemetery and all those kinds of places. It's and they've been doing a Paracon there, haven't they, the last couple of years?
Yes, they do. The last one that they did was in February with Amy Bruni. She brought
Mhm.
her people out here, and we actually helped her. We helped rotate the people and walk everyone, to the locations they were visiting and stuff. Because we work in two places in Tombstone, so we're very familiar with Tombstone. So we helped her out. I believe she said she's coming back again.
Okay.
But that was the last one. Was what she did, and that was in. No, that was in February. That was in
Yeah.
February. So we're hoping she comes back. In fact, I still have some of her stuff.
Becky
when, when,
Shed.
when it came to them packing up to go, she had stuff she didn't sell. And so she's all, can you take this box and mail it for me? And I'm like, sure. She's all, okay, I'll email you in a couple days with the label. And I'm like, okay. So I brought it home. I have it taped up. It's out in my shed. I reminded her like 5 times. I'm like, I just to let you know, I still have your box, and she's like, oh yeah, I'll get that, taken care of. And it's like I said, it's been since February and I still have it.
Dear me. Well, she's up at Dragon Con in Atlanta this coming weekend. Mail it there.
You're like, attention, Amy Bruni, here's your
Yeah.
box. I told her, I'm like, if you want, I can just hold on to it until you come back to Tombstone. Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
what I might end up doing. Who knows?
is there going to be one next year?
I'm hoping. She mentioned last year or last February that she was planning on it. So I'm hoping she does. That would be great. I would love to put on a Paracon. I've done one. And I would love to do another one. My issue is the fact that it takes a lot of money to get a Paracon together.
Yeah.
And right now, I had to go through a rebrand, and just a lot of personal stuff has happened the past couple years to me. So I haven't had the chance, but I'm hoping one day to do a Paracon too. We'll
We're
see what.
doing one this coming weekend in Savannah.
Oh, are you? I'm
Yes,
sure that's going to be fun.
it's called MacabraCon.
Oh, I love that.
So we have got our two special guests are Andrea Perron, who was obviously part of the Conjuring family. So she's going to be coming along. It's her only appearance that she's doing this year, but she's going to be talking about what it was really like compared to what you see in the movies.
Right.
And then we've also got a man called Dacre Stoker, who is Bram Stoker's great grandnephew. Because Bram Stoker himself, who wrote Dracula, actually visited the Savannah Theatre in 1896.
Oh, wow.
So Bram is, and Bram's life and work and Dracula, Dacre's an authority on all of that, and he's written a prequel to Dracula and a sequel. And then we've got actual researchers presenting on the stage. So we've got no TV personalities, which was a deliberate choice because they're famous for being on TV and not actually doing anything to contribute towards the scientific effort in our book. So we've got one of the local history professors from the university. We've got Steve Parsons is zooming in. So's Anne Winsper. I'm going to be doing on my research. And we've got some of the local tour companies and people from Savannah who are all chipping in with some really good things that are specific to the hostess city.
Very cool. Very
So
cool. I love that.
it'll be a good weekend.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of hard work.
I can
Yes,
imagine.
I do
Planning.
understand that. With the one I put on, I know it was very stressful and a lot of hard work. And that isn't what's stopping me from doing it again. It's basically money, and like I said, I went through a lot the past couple of years personally. So it's just getting things back on track, and I'm really hoping to do it again. Fingers crossed, I get to do it again. But
it's our first year. If it
happens.
works well, we'll hopefully do it next year. So you'll have to make a trip to Savannah, the both of you.
Okay,
That's on my bucket list forever.
That is one that I've always wanted to go to. Definitely.
Okay, I hit New Orleans, so I was like, I gotta hit Savannah.
Yeah, New Orleans and Savannah. Yeah, those are two that I definitely want to hit too.
Savannah first.
I have to cut this off. I have an event that I need to get to for my company, but before we go, I want you to be able to tell everyone where to find you and all your information so everyone listening knows where to look you up at.
Well, you can usually find me haunting the streets of Savannah. So you can come and see us at one of our tours. So it's Witching Hour Savannah is the tour. And we do a number of different ghost tours. We do the Savannah Ghost Tour, Conjuring Cocktails, Haunted Pub Crawl, a Tybee Ghost Tour. So if you like booze by the beach. And we've also do, and you just see it just over that shoulder, we've started Ghost Scouts because it's the birthplace of the Girl Scouts of America. But Ghost Scouts is a great ghost tour for families and kids, and they get to earn virtual patches and an actual Ghost Scouts patch at the end. So we're trying to make ghost hunting and history and science accessible for the kids. And then look out for a chapter in a book that I've got coming out in October. It's the Routledge Book of Dark Tourism, and I got a chapter with my PhD supervisor on ghost hunting events and what that amounts to, what it leads to. And then hopefully when I finish the PhD, I'll be bringing a book out.
Very cool.
That's where you can find me.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dylan. We enjoyed having you.
Thank
In
you.
the future, we would love to have you back and discuss more of everything because I know we didn't even really start to cover probably most of it. But definitely, after that, chapter gets finished and everything, definitely come back. We would love to hear more about it.
Yes.
Lovely. Thank you so much, both. I really appreciate it.
All right. You have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful night, Dylan.
And
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So, Kira, I know you're not coming tonight because you're in Mesa and there's no way you can run to Tucson. But I am on my way to JoJo's, and we are having our first Tucson Ghost Society Presents Ghost Connection event tonight. It's at JoJo's at downtown. And basically, we're giving a free mini ghost tour, a free mini ghost hunt. We're talking about our rebrand. We're going to do a Q&A with the rest of the team members. And it should be a lot of fun. Hopefully we have a good turnout because it did kind of sprinkle. So we'll see. I know some people don't like to venture out in, the rain. So we'll see what happens. But I do know I will see you for sure on Sunday.
Yep.
Because we are at Tucson Comic-Con doing a panel on Sunday at 3:40 p.m. or one of the last panels of the day. But we're going to get there early and kind of walk around. So I know I will see you then. In the meantime, our tours and ghost hunts are open, so check out TucsonGhostCompany.com and sign up for our rebranded tours and hunts. And we're getting ready to go into a busy season now. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping it's a busy season after all the hard work we've done. But I want to throw this out there. Please support your local tours, especially. It's the local people that really put their heart and souls into the research and doing all this. So please make sure they're, locally owned and operated when you do a ghost tour, especially. All right, Kira, what do you want to say to everyone before we hop off of here?
Thanks for listening, everyone. I hope to see some people at our panel on Sunday. And then till next time, stay spooky.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We will be back in a couple weeks. Until then, just keep track of us on our Facebook pages, especially Tucson Ghost Society and company page. Actually, it's Tucson Ghost Company and Society. And our website, as I said, TucsonGhostCompany.com. We're all over social media. You can find out where through our website. But until next time, remember, you are never truly alone. Good night, everyone.